There we go. The camera flipped backwards. Okay, and I believe we are live. Alright, so I'm going to give everybody just a few minutes to come in. I know I said I was going to be about 15 minutes late, but I finished what I needed to do, which was grab a cup of tea. And finished it a little bit earlier than I thought I was going to. Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into the review from yesterday, as well as what we're going to be doing today. So, first of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Gina, and I am the the manager of this Lupus page that you're watching this particular live on. And I'm an art therapy life coach, master herbalist, among a few other things. But for purposes of what we're doing right now, I'm a certified art therapy life coach. So for the last 7 days, we've been doing a little bit of an art therapy session, like a mini art therapy session. We've gone through 7 days so far. Today is day 8. However, for the last few days, we've been using a hashtag #ArtBreak. And I want to explain to you why you might have noticed this sudden change from #ArtBreak to the hashtag #CreateWithGina. Well, yesterday, I don't know whether it was a Facebook glitch or whether they were blocked or what, but I couldn't find my videos anywhere. And I did a little bit of a research into the hashtag #ArtBreak and realized that, or discovered that there's a band by that name, and there's also a festival by that name. So I thought, well, maybe my videos were being blocked because that was a copyright infringement. I don't know, but I decided to go ahead and change the search tag, which is now going to be Create with Gina. So if you're looking for any of the previous videos, they will simply have the hashtag Create with Gina, and you'll be able to find all of the previous ones in that way. And I figured that should be a safe one to use. So yesterday we discussed things, places, people that serve as our anchor. And I posted a couple images already, and I wanted to go ahead and share this with you. And someone else also posted theirs. But this is my completed one from yesterday. I actually did 2. This is the one that I did on paper, which most of you will probably do because you most likely have access to the paper. But I did another one using some items that I had found from the Dollar Tree. And this is simply done on a piece of canvas. And then I found these wood cutouts that I glued on, and then I painted the background using watercolor paint, and then simply wrote all of the things, places, and people that serve as my anchor. So that's the one from yesterday. So, as I was saying before, now you just simply look for the hashtag #CreateWithGina for all of the previous videos, and you'll be able to find them. So every once in a while you do have to reinvent yourself, and which is fine. I think that was like a message for me to make sure I research the hashtags that I'm going to be using to make sure this doesn't happen. But this tied really well into what I wanted to talk with you guys about today anyway. We're going through a period where everyone is basically having to reinvent themselves. There's so many people that have been laid off work. Kids are at home, being homeschooled pretty much because all of the lessons have now been put online. Brick and mortar schools are virtually empty at this point, unless they're being used as health centers or something like that. So everybody's kind of having to reinvent themselves at this point in the game because of this one virus that is going around. So one of the things I wanted to talk about today, which is why I asked you to bring a sheet of paper, some scissors, and a pen or pencil, is because we're going to talk about what makes you unique and how you can use those unique gifts to basically start to serve your corner of the world or the globe, because we do have technology, so things tend to go a little bit further now, not just our little corner. All right, so that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be making a snowflake using a simple sheet of paper, and I'm going to show you how to cut it and everything. I went ahead and I made one. It's not opened up as yet, but I'm going to show you how to go ahead and fold the paper and cut it, and then we'll talk about things that make you unique. And while you're doing that, you can be thinking about that as well. If you've already made your snowflake because you're waiting for me, that's perfectly fine. But yeah, I think that the planet as a whole, people as a whole, we're going through an upgrade, and we're having to be thinking about what happens if this goes on and on and on and on. We don't know how long we're going to have to stay at home, right? So those of us who are used to going out and working in a regular 9-to-5 job, we're not able to do that anymore. All of a sudden, we're having to think, well, what's going to happen? So I think this is a perfect time to be thinking about gifts that are unique to us, that we can actually serve our families and our communities using those particular gifts, because I believe everybody has been blessed with one or more gifts that we may not even realize that we have, or we have but have been suppressing them for so long, right? Because we don't think that they're relevant to our communities or relevant to anything. I want to share a story with you. When I was about, I want to say maybe 13 or 14 years old, I had just gotten off the bus with a friend of mine. I might have been 14 because we were in high school, I think the first year of high school. And we got off the bus, and the bus, we were on the right side of the street. And I remember we both crossed over to the side which would basically lead us to go home. And as we got over there, I said to her, we need to get back to the other side. And she looked at me as if I was crazy. And I said, no, we really need to get back to the other side. And I was really urgent about it. And she was like, no, we just came from over there. We need to go home. And I said, no, we really need to cross back over to the other side. And she wouldn't listen. So I grabbed her hand and literally dragged her across the street. And at that moment that we both arrived on the other side of the street where we had just come from, around the corner comes this truck that lost control and basically slams into the section or the spot where we had been standing just moments before. And I remember she looked at me and she said, how in the world did you know that was going to happen? And I said, I don't know. I just knew. And that's why I needed you to believe me and not question me, just follow me. I just knew. And I remember the words that she used to, in reference to me at that point, were basically something like freak. And from that day on, I started to suppress, because I realized that not everybody has gifts like this. And that was basically a really weird thing that happened, and a really strange thing for me to have done. I was basically kind of predicting the future and didn't know how that was done. And just by being called the word freak, I basically said, okay, no more, because I wanted to blend in. I wanted to be like everybody else, and that wasn't going to happen if I am going to be able to see something that's coming in the future. So for decades, literally for decades, I suppressed that particular gift. And it was only recently, I want to say maybe a year ago, 2 years ago maybe, I started to really dig deeper into reawakening those gifts that I know that I have. And I think there are a lot of people out there who have gifts like this, and for one reason or another has been suppressing them. Now, what I do believe is that I believe that these gifts were given to us for a reason. And I think today, this day and age, I think this is a good reason to have those gifts and to wake up those gifts, right? because I do believe that we are going through some sort of an upgrade, and those of us who were at some point considered the black sheep of the family are going to be the ones that are now called on to lead and to serve the rest of our communities. So that's why I wanted to talk to you about. That's why we're going to be creating this snowflake today. So let's just jump into that. Here's your sheet of paper. What you're going to be doing is creating a square. So to create a square from this, what you're going to be doing is basically folding down. Make sure that you can see. You're going to be taking one corner and folding it down to create that square. And I'm not going to be doing this perfectly here. I'll just set it down. So here we go. Once you have those corners touching, then this piece here is going to be removed. So let me just go ahead and cut that off. It's not perfect, but you'll understand. So just go ahead and cut off that extra piece that you have on the bottom. And now you're left with this, which is basically a square. So what you're going to do is, you're going to take it, fold it, and then you're going to fold it again. So you have another triangle. And then you're going to fold it again. Now some people will stop here, and depending on the kind of snowflake you want, whether it's a 6-point or I think the one I have is just basically square with a lot of little cutouts, will determine what you end up with. But some that I've seen, you just fold to maybe a third like this on one side, and then you take the other side and you also fold it another third. And then from there you can start doing all of the little design. Okay, so the one I did yesterday, let me show you that one. This one was literally just folded over. Let me open it up and show you. So this is the one that I created yesterday in preparation for this class, or for this little mini workshop. So you can see, and everybody's snowflake is going to be completely unique, right? Which is what we're talking about, is what makes you unique. All right, so what I did was I simply folded this. Let me open. I had it folded in half, and then I folded it again, then I folded it again, and then I folded it again. So I ended up with this part, and I just did a lot of little cuts around it and ended up with what you see here. So if you have your own way of making a snowflake, go ahead, do it the way that you know. The idea is to have a snowflake, because we're going to be using this for the next portion. Okay, so once you have your snowflake done, and I see that there are a couple of people watching, just go ahead and say hi. So once you have your snowflake done, I'm going to go ahead and trim this one up. We're going to talk a little bit about things that make you unique. And the reason is, I believe that the unique qualities that we all have today are what's going to be serving us, because things are rapidly changing. Nobody knew that here would come a virus that's going to shake things up a little bit. And speaking of shaking things up, I have an app that I've been following that basically tells all the earthquakes that occur in a 24-hour period. And it was really kind of scary, because Alaska, I think, had about 5. And in the 24-hour period, I think there were about, I want to say at least close to 100 in different parts of the world that occurred while we were sleeping. And well, for some of them, they weren't sleeping, because some were over in Bali area. Japan, I think, had 3. And now we're talking about from maybe a 2.9 and up. I think the strongest was about a 5 point something at that point. But just imagine, there's a lot of shaking up taking place. The earth is shaking up. The earth is changing around. It's not the first time that this has happened. And, this virus has come around, and it's shaking everybody up. we can't go out of our homes, and everybody's buying up all the toilet paper, and there's lots of changes occurring. So I think this is a perfect time for us to kind of reinvent ourselves, see what makes us unique, what are the unique qualities that we can share with the rest of the world, and how can we do that. So one of the things that my daughter learned when she was younger is that she is really good at makeup. And for the longest time, after she discovered this, she tried to do, the 9-to-5 job, and she absolutely hated it. She hated it. And she still tries at the regular 9-to-5 while she's, building her, what we call her little side gig, but I believe that is her passion. Her passion is, and I believe her gift is, showing people how to use makeup, whether it's to enhance the looks that you have, cover up maybe some injury and that left a horrible scar. But she is absolutely fabulous when it comes to doing makeup. Not only that, she is also really great at designing clothes. I remember we went into I think it was Goodwill one time, and I gave her $100. She walks out having spent $40, and I think she left with probably close to 60 items of clothing. And she literally just cut and pieced together, basically reinvented what she bought and turned it into something completely different, and they were absolutely gorgeous. So she discovered she has all of these different gifts. So what are some of your unique gifts? Try to think about things that you used to do maybe when you were a little kid, and as you've grown older, you decide, no, that's not something that I would be doing, that definitely wouldn't help me to make any money. But think about things that you love to do. Now that you're at home, I'm simply just trimming around the paper. Now that you're at home and you have your kids, well, here's one. I'm pretty sure you all are homeschooling, right? Because schools are out. You've probably discovered that you're an awesome teacher. Or maybe you've discovered that teaching is definitely not one of your strong points, and you're going to leave that to other people. But what have you discovered since you've been at home? Let me see what this is looking like so far, if anything. Oh, turned out to be a 4-point star in the middle. Interesting. Let me see if I can go even further. Kind of like the star in the middle though. So think about those kind of qualities. Maybe you're a makeup artist yourself. Maybe you've discovered that you absolutely love to do that, but yet you're doing something else. What about cooking? Maybe you're a great cook and you've always thought about wanting to open a restaurant, and everybody's been saying, you should open a restaurant, share all of your recipes with the world. And you're like, no. Well, maybe this is the perfect time to be doing that, What about organizing events? Maybe you're really good at organizing children's parties, birthday parties. So that would be something that you could do. And while we're thinking about this, write down your list, because what you're going to do is on your unique snowflake, you are going to write in these spaces everything that makes you unique. And you're also going to be thinking about ways that you can use those unique qualities that you have to serve your community, your family, and maybe, globally at some point, because, we do have technology now, so we're not necessarily stuck to just our little corner of the globe, right? So what about baking? Maybe you've discovered that you really love baking, and you've done a lot of baking since you've been kind of cooped up in your home with all of the little kitties. Maybe some of the kids have discovered that they're really good at baking as well. Think about this. Leonardo da Vinci. I think a lot of people call him the Renaissance man. I think it's because, well, he did live in the Renaissance period. But I think a lot of people call him that because he was always reinventing himself. he didn't, everyone I think knows him as an artist, but not realizing that some of the drawings that he did basically was the invention of the helicopter. The drawing of I can't remember what it's called now, but the guy in the medical drawing with his arms out, legs, that is basically the drawing, a drawing by Leonardo da Vinci. And there's so much more. A lot of the drawings of the human body, the internal, the structure in the human body, he was basically the one that modern doctors looked to all of his drawings to find out what was happening. What was happening within the human body, because he was the one that literally started to study what the human body looked like on the inside. Yes, he might have gotten into a little bit of trouble because I guess he was suspected of robbing graves, that sort of thing. But a lot of what he did is he has to be credited for a lot of the modern day images that we now have as far as medicine is concerned. So he was a true Renaissance man. He didn't stick to one thing. He learned to reinvent himself over and over and over. So at this point in the game, I think we have to do that. We have to learn to do that as well. And let me see how this is looking. I really like how this one is turning out. Let me see. And I still have that 4-point star in the center. So I'm going to stop there with that. And let me see how different it is. And the point is, the reason why we're doing the snowflake is because every snowflake is unique. And yes, there are rare times when they have found two identical snowflakes, but for this purpose, every snowflake is unique. And both of these turned out differently. There are some similarities, but there we go. There's the first one. And here's the second one. I like both of them. So maybe you have a skill, maybe you know how to decorate rooms. Maybe you just have a knack for putting things in the right place. And I know there's a term, feng shui. Maybe that would be one of your skills. Maybe that's something that you can think about if, in the future, for you to do, to share with your friends, with your family, and the rest of the community, how to feng shui your home for the right energy, right? What about, and I giggle because this is actually something that I wanted to do when I was younger, being a makeup artist to the dead. I really wanted to work for a mortician at one point and do the makeup on bodies before they were placed into the caskets. And I mentioned that to a couple of people at one time, and they all looked at me like I was crazy. Said there's no way I would do that. And I remember saying next, well, you will never have any dissatisfied customers. They're not going to complain. They're just going to basically lay there and allow you to, fix their face up. The only people that would probably complain if you kind of overdo things are family members. But yes, I did at one point want to be a makeup artist in a mortician's office. Not that I still don't. I would love to at least do it a couple times just to kind of scratch that off of my list. But yeah, maybe that is something that, you've always wanted to do. What about making perfumes? I shared with you in a couple videos that I do make my own perfumes. I have purchased others, but I love to make, and actually I have one here, I love to make my own essential oil perfumes. So if that's something that you enjoy doing, or you've started to experiment with essential oils, maybe you've discovered that you're having fun putting different oils together and they are smelling really good. So maybe you can start doing some essential oil blends, and maybe you open up an Etsy store and start sharing your blends with the rest of us, right? So what about being a dietitian? Maybe you have this knack that every time you go on a diet, you lose 10 pounds just like that. And your friends are saying, how in the world do you do that? Can you share with us? So maybe that's a gift that you could share with everyone. What about being a personal trainer? If you're not already that, maybe that's something that you've always been interested in doing. Maybe you're always fit. You manage to put together different exercise routines that, toned in just the right places, and your friends are always noticing that you have a knack for this. Maybe that is something that you could consider doing. Maybe that's one of your unique gifts. I do have a few more that I'm glancing down at. What about making videos? The beauty of this is that any one of these can be turned into some kind of online business, right? Where you don't even have to leave your home, except if you're baking or you have a restaurant, that sort of thing. But you could still do your cooking. You could cater. You don't necessarily have to open a restaurant. You could have a place where you do the cooking and then you deliver the food. But beauty of so many of these that don't require hands-on, you can do using videos, and YouTube is a great platform for this. Maybe you've discovered that you're really good at giving people massages. So maybe a massage therapist is something that you would love to consider. What about, maybe you're the person that everybody calls on saying, can you pray for blah, 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 blah. I'm really going through a really rough time, so can you pray for me? Maybe you're the person that everybody calls to for that. So what about being a spiritual leader? Maybe you could organize different events, have people come together and lead different activities, right? So what about, and I'm just throwing things out here. I went ahead and I made a list. So once you've made the list of things that make you unique, things that you've enjoyed doing since you were a kid, things that you wish that you could do, make that list, and then what you're going to do next is simply write them into the spaces. And if you would like to, put a string and hang it up in a prominent place where you can see it and be reminded of the things that make you unique. You can also just simply tape it onto a wall so that each time, in an area where you see it all the time, and be reminded of these special qualities that you have. And these are the ways that you serve your world. It's not about going from a 9-to-5 job every single day, basically being like this, you're like a machine that's been programmed. You go to work from 9 to 5 every day and you do this routine thing. And this movie just popped into my head. I don't know if you've seen it, Joe versus the Volcano, where it's basically that. And then he's given this, it stars Tom Hanks, and he goes to this routine job from 9 to 5. And it's the same monotony that he goes through every single day, until one day he receives a diagnosis where it basically says that you have this brain thing and it's going to basically kill you. And he decides that he's going to quit his job and he's going to travel. He goes on this journey, and where he discovers himself, basically. So that's what it just popped into my head, was this movie. So if you get a chance, watch that movie called Joe versus the Volcano, and that will give you, kind of put things in perspective as well. So I'm going to stop here. I would love for you to complete your snowflake and share it with us in the comment section below, and I'm going to go ahead and finish up mine as well and share that. Don't forget that the search word now is #CreateWithGina. So if you're trying to find the other videos that I posted for the last 7 days, just do a search on this page, #CreateWithGina, and you will find days 1 through 7. I will post day 7 below this video, but for the others, you can go ahead and just search and you'll find the others. Today is day 8, so day 7 will be posted below, and then you can always search for the rest using the #CreateWithGina. I hope you enjoy this, and I hope it's giving you a chance to really think about who you are, because sometimes who we think we are is not who we really are. We were placed on this planet with certain gifts, and so many of us have suppressed those particular gifts and have gone off in different directions. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think we're at a point now where we're being forced to kind of look within and see who we truly are and what we are truly meant to be doing on this planet. So think about those, write them down, and see if we can't start to take some action on what you discover about your unique qualities, about your unique gifts. Thank you for being here today, and I will go ahead and post the completed ones below, and I look forward to serving you again tomorrow on day 9 with Create with Gina.